Hi everyone, how's it going? I'm Bonnie Violet, trans femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, digital chaplain.
And I'm Pacey, transmasc, nonbinary, mental health and recovery advocate.
And welcome to TransJoyboise podcast, where every story, laugh, and act of joy is a stand for our community.
We uplift bold voices, share real experiences, and celebrate trans lives thriving.
Tune in, connect, and spread the joy, because trans joy is...
unstoppable.
Yes.
Yeah, nailed it that time. That's a challenge.
I know, right? 23 episodes in, but we're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome, and we have a guest here today. We have Asher. I had saw Asher on TikTok just a couple days ago and reached out to them, and we'll learn a little bit more about Asher in a second, but do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm Asher. I'm local here to Idaho, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say about myself. I'm kind of boring.
No, that's okay. And so so I saw you on TikTok, and just flipping through TikTok, and then I saw you being like, "Hey, help! Like my wife's pregnant. I want to get out of Idaho." And I was like, "Okay, you're in Idaho," so that caught my attention, of course. And then I kind of listened to it a little bit, and then I think I checked back. I don't know. It was like it seemed like it might have been the same day, or it might have been just a couple days later. And then I saw that there was an update, and it looked like you'd been having some pretty positive response. And so it got me thinking I should reach out to you. A lot of folks in our area and all across the country, and even places outside of the U.S., are at this point where they're feeling like they need to leave home.
Definitely.
And that's happening for a lot of different reasons. And many of us don't have the privilege or the ability to leave home, even if we wanted to or felt like we needed to, regardless of how dangerous or how unsafe we were feeling, right? And so I kind of wanted to hear a little bit more about, I think I do want to get into the decision that kind of got you to decide to move, but just tell me a little bit, are you from Idaho, where you kind of grew up? Tell us a little bit about you.
Originally, I'm from Washington, actually.
Okay.
And I grew up there in a little ghetto town, and I moved here 5 years ago to be with my sister, who now lives in Oregon. And yeah, I just kind of got stuck here. Tried to move a couple times, but just didn't end up working out. But yeah, I've been here for a while and have just been slowly, things have just started to get a little more not safe, I guess, and people a little bolder about where they stand on things. And the town I live in is really small and very red, and so finding a job there is really hard. I've only worked at 3 places in that town because they'll like me until they see my ID, and then I don't hear from them ever again, And so it's a little, I don't know, it's a little weird.
Yeah. And how long have you been in Idaho?
5 years, since 2019.
Okay, awesome. And what was it that kind of caused you to finally say, that's it, I need to try to get out of here? How long have you been trying?
It's been about a year of us trying to plan to get out. Let's see, I would say probably just the people getting a lot bolder. We don't really go out and do anything. We don't have friends. We don't go out into the movies or anything, just because it's not safe, and people will say things, or sometimes they'll come up and just try and talk, and it's I'm not very big. I'm a little guy, so I'm not trying to get, beat up, but yeah, just that, and then trying to find a job here is just so impossible, and then they don't treat you very well anyway, so it's
Yeah, so it's kind of the combination of not feeling safe where you're at, having to be isolated and alone because of where you live, and in part getting connected with community, and then that feeds into the ability of getting a job, which then makes it even more difficult to pay for your rent and handle the things you need. So it all just kind of feeds into itself and just makes it that much more difficult. I don't think people understand that sometimes who aren't trans, all the little oh, I realize it might be difficult in this way, but it makes it difficult in every aspect of your life.
Yeah,
it bleeds into everything.
Everything.
Exactly.
Absolutely everything.
Yeah, so it can be really difficult to be I don't know, being in an environment that's hostile, but I have a great job.
Right.
I mean, I think some folks
this boss doesn't detonate me.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think there are some places, but it is a little bit more harder to kind of get into that for a lot of folks, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I'm thinking 2019 when you came here, things were so different. I mean, things were so different 6 months ago,
Yeah.
And it's it feels so unreal, the things that we're dealing with now, because like we've talked about it so many times that like even, you know, a year ago, if I was thinking about the things that are happening now, I'd be like, no way. Like that would even be poorly written in a movie, because that's so dystopian and fucking cruel and outlandish. But now, like, that's a reality. And I think that facing that reality and every facet of your life that is affected by being trans, I think that we're definitely at this pivotal moment for a lot of people where it's like, well, when do we leave?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for us, like, we were just in Washington, D.C. for an event. And for me, it blew my mind to be somewhere that was so accepting. Like, there was a neighborhood with like businesses that were queer, and it was one of those towns that has like the like the rainbow crosswalks and like
so
the flags.
cool.
We went to a restaurant that was queer, like a whole ass restaurant that was gay. Yeah, it was gay as shit. Like we walked in there and we had just left a different neighborhood that was very not. And as soon as we stepped in, we were just kind of like, I was a little nervous. And this guy comes in, he's like, "Hey, bitches!" And I was like, "Okay, we're gonna go."
We're in the right place.
Yeah.
Because the neighborhood before it was actually the opposite, where like there was actually like a fight that was about to maybe break out, and it was actually related to like one of the folks within the group was a stud. Yeah. And the cis girls were like not happy about it.
Having it at all.
And so then the others were like sticking up for them, and it was this like. We thought, oh shit, because we'd actually gotten out in the wrong. We thought we were in a different place than we were, so we were in the wrong neighborhood. Not in the sense that it was like a sketch neighborhood. Actually, I thought it was a little too, because I was like, I'm not in Boise. I'm gonna wear what I can't wear there, right? And so like I have this like netted shirt that I don't wear a bra with. I just have like little cups or whatever. And so it doesn't look like I'm topless, but it's kind of like this cool little, and so I was wearing that, but we were like in this neighborhood with like families and like, it was just, I'm like,
it was a lot.
This is not DuPont.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then we got to the other neighborhood and it was like
super
completely
weird.
different experience.
That's so cool.
But then like coming back here, in comparison to that, it's like going back in time. But I feel like I've said, if there's anything that I could bring back from that experience in DC to Idaho in particular, or other red states, is it isn't like this everywhere. Because I thought that it was. I thought that all of like the anti-trans, you know, laws and bills that were coming through, I thought that was happening everywhere. And it is to some degree, right? Yeah. But it's not as fucking shit-kicking red as it is here. Like there are other places where it feels like progress is not only possible, but like easy.
Yeah.
And it's like, so coming back here, it's like, why? Like, why are we living like this? Because, there are so many reasons why we're staying, right? But it makes it even more understandable of wanting to leave. To like go somewhere where not only would you be able to live there comfortably, but you would be celebrated.
Right.
You know? So I totally get wanting to get out of here for that reason.
Yeah, definitely.
Which was a bummer coming back too. But it was so cool to be in a place that was that accepting.
It was really cool in that aspect. I still always like, it's like yay gay in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. I still wonder how the trans stuff is, you know? Yeah. And it seemed like still good. Like those spaces are still typically okay. They're not hostile, at least for trans people. Yeah. They might not be as accepting as you might like or whatever. And we felt fine there, not a problem at all. Yeah. But also in relation to that, not to make it about our recent trip, but they were doing this like monument, kind of like the AIDS quilt, where they brought 250 panels from across the country. There was over 1,000 trans people and allies who made these panels. Wow. And they were displayed out on the Capitol Park there, in the mall there, and they put them out in, they're like pink, blue, and white, and it said freedom to be, and it was really cool. Idaho brought 24 panels, which was about 10% of all the panels that were there.
Wow.
Which was like really awesome to see. And I was excited to be like, okay, we're gonna go out there. Idaho did 24. I'm like, I can't fucking wait to like see what other states did. And we were like, we like did the most.
Wild.
Like, and we were like the most, it was like, they're like, oh, in Idaho, they did this and blah, and we're like, okay, and that's cool, but I'm also like, where are all the other people? You know, I'm like, if we did 24, then why didn't California and Texas and, some of these other places do more, but I think part of it is I think that we just happen to be the right size, that there is a lot of really difficult things for trans people right now in Idaho, but there's a lot of people that are kind of stepping up
Slowly, yeah.
and trying to do stuff. I think our resources are still really limited. So the things we can do is like maybe show up, like be in the same space with one another.
Yep.
It's not too much of like helping with houses and rent and even accessing gender affirming care all that much.
Right.
But we're at least like, I don't know, I feel like we're at least mobilizing a little bit. And whereas I think that there's just some of the other parts of the country, it's not as urgent.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
But it is urgent here.
Yeah,
And
totally is.
which feels so unfair.
We have to respond.
Yeah.
We can't just like.
So while you guys are planning to leave, like where are you trying to, are you headed to a bluer state?
Oregon or Washington's the goal for sure, just because those are like trans safe states, and then there's some towns in Washington specifically that are like trans sanctuary states.
Yeah, isn't Tacoma one
Yep.
of them?
Yep,
Yeah,
they
I
like
heard
just
that too.
became one,
Mhm.
and so trying to get somewhere over there just because it'd be so much easier to like meet people. Like we
Totally.
have 3 friends here in Idaho because
Yeah.
people suck, like,
Yeah.
and you never
Yeah.
know, and so it's just kind of like, but yeah, try and go somewhere that we could raise our kid and not have to worry that we're gonna have her taken from us because someone found out I'm trans, you know,
Yeah.
like, or I
That's
don't
so
know,
terrible.
you never know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another aspect that we maybe haven't talked about too much, but it's you and your wife and your soon-to-be baby, right?
Yes,
So I'm sure that played a little bit more of an element than just like
very
if it was
much.
just you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Probably would have taken longer if it was just me, but I worry for like them and just putting them in a situation like being at the hospital and having to worry about like how they're gonna treat us there. Like, shouldn't have to worry about that. We're at a hospital. Like,
Right.
she's gonna have a baby, but and just not knowing if like CPS is gonna get involved because they don't,
Agree with
support
you,
it or
yeah.
whatever,
Mhm.
and then just nitpicking everything. So
Mhm.
it's just trying to get somewhere that we don't have to worry about that.
No, because they're trying to make it in other states where it is considered like child abuse.
Yep.
More so of if like you are allowing your child to access gender affirming care, things like that. But I feel like it isn't too far out of the realm of possibility that being a trans parent could be considered abusive. And I know that it feels like anyway Idaho takes a lot of cues from the deep red like Florida and Texas.
Yes.
So I feel like it's smart to kind of get a jump on that, because I think this next legislative session is going to be really aggressive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if we look at
Scary.
like history, granted gays and lesbians are a lot more accepted now, but gays and lesbians used to lose their kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have a cousin who lost her kids like years ago in my little hometown.
Really?
Yeah, and it was just because she was a lesbian. Like, she was divorced, all that sort of stuff, then was a lesbian, and she lost her kids.
That's terrible.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely a reasonable concern to
I
have.
had to miss my best friend's wedding because they live in Texas, and I couldn't go because they have a kid, and I was worried that if we were out somewhere, someone saw that and reported it, their kid would get taken, and it's
Right.
like I can't put them in that situation,
Yeah.
but like, and I don't want to put my wife or my kid in that situation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think that's the thing that sometimes that I think is a lot of people don't understand is like our transness, and like we can be like cool with our transness and we could still like show up to that wedding anyway, right? But I think there's also an element of like trying to manage other people's that what could happen to other people because of who
me.
we are or how we are. And
Yep.
that's like a whole nother layer, because I've missed my niece's birthday because they were having it outdoors at a public pool, and I was like, I don't want to I just don't want there to be any sort of drama. I want this little girl to have her 4th birthday, you know what I mean, without any sort of like issue. Could I deal with somebody being crazy? Yes, but I don't want her to have to see that or have anything to do with that. So I think that's just a whole nother layer that I don't think people really think about.
Definitely.
It's so dystopian to even talk about like all of these these things. It feels like a poorly written dystopian futuristic novel. Like
Handmaid's Tale.
yeah.
Yes.
'Cause when I read that book in 2016, like right after Trump was elected, and I was reading it and I was like, this is a little far-fetched. Like it's really, I love Margaret Atwood's prose. Like the writing was just so beautiful. So like that got me through some of the parts where I was like, really? And then when I watched the show late, and I watched it after the insurrection had happened. So when people would ask me like, what is this about? I would describe it as, oh, it's what would have happened if the insurrection had been successful. And now I'm watching it and it's like they took notes from The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
So it's like this show, this story has completely evolved with our administration from like something that was so far-fetched to something that is actively happening.
Right.
And I hate that.
Well, and it's partly a part of the playbook that the Nazis in Germany did, and that the Nazis in Germany took from the U.S. and our Jim Crow stuff, and like, so it's like it's not a new playbook. It's just a different target group,
Adaptation of it.
right?
Yeah.
Or a smaller subset, because a lot of us were always part of the group. You know, there were queers and trans people who were harmed.
Yep.
You know, within like Germany and all of that, and they wasn't talked about as much in the same ways, but we were, and I think it's just the group's getting smaller and smaller, but it's always been us to some degree. Yeah.
Well, when we were in DC, I was talking to the other person that went with us about, you know, about this very thing, like when is it time to leave? Like what would be my personal line in the sand?
Right.
And we were talking about that. Theirs was, you know, really realistic. What would you consider yours to be?
It would probably be the fact that, like, I can't go to a doctor's office without being outed to every single person there. Like, I've sat in an office waiting to be called back, and I hear the people at the front desk talking about me, about what it is, you know, and it's like,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it happens a lot, especially in the town we're in, and, like, knowing that my wife having the baby, like, if something were to go wrong, there's nothing they legally or medically will or can do. Like, they just won't. And it's either just because of the laws or just because they don't want to. And it's kind of a, like, that's people's lives. Like, like
Exactly. And they have that law, where now it's like if you're a healthcare provider, you can refuse to give treatment, not in like emergency settings, but still, if you don't believe in someone's identity or whatever, and that goes all the way down to even like pharmacists.
Yep.
You know, so there are all these people that can look at you and be like, "Ooh, that goes against my religion," or whatever the fuck like bigoted reason they have, and then just choose to like make your life really difficult.
Yep.
And I feel like that's a really good line to have. You know, that's just like having fucking integrity and valuing yourself to like not want to put up with that bullshit.
Yeah.
So,
what's your line?
Oh Lord, I have 3, and it was back when, you know, years ago, which was actually just like a couple months ago, and I was thinking, okay, my lines are gonna be, if there are camps, if there's martial law, and if we have to start wearing identifiers. And I feel like the camps are already happening.
They are.
And, you know,
They just haven't.
Right. They're just in other countries. And
they haven't said trans people.
not yet. Yeah, exactly. So the camps are happening, but just not for us yet.
Right.
And the martial law thing, I feel, is already, it's within 100 miles of around the border. And that makes it dicey, because it's like, can you really just instate it in one spot and not for the whole, I don't know. And then the identifiers, I feel like that's on its way.
100%.
I really do.
And
like the bathroom laws, like
Yeah. I don't go to the bathroom without my service dog because I am not safe. I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
I take him with me everywhere because
That's a
people
good
leave me
idea,
alone.
yeah.
Like they're like,
I
oh, it's a
feel
big
like
dog.
sick of 'em, yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Don't fuck him
I
up.
kind of feel like the identifiers are already there though.
Yeah,
Because
that's a
we're
good
not
point.
allowed to have our paperwork. certain ways, or if our like my IDs don't have Bonnie Violet on them,
Right.
you know, so like already at that I'm already outed, right, as a trans person, and so I think to some degree that's an outing.
Yeah.
I know it's like a different level than like a stamp or like a patch or something on my body, but I mean, but also like I feel like I look like a trans person most of the time, so it's like, you know what I mean, so it's like it's always out there. But
and they want to like mark the like passports and birth certificates that have been changed, so that's totally an identifier. Like if you look at someone's passport and it has a mark or a code or something that says they changed their gender marker, it's like, okay, that's a fucking identifier. And you're right, I think that absolutely counts. I think in my mind I was just thinking more of like the, you know, like you have to wear this color patch if you are supposed to use the women's room, or like some bullshit like that.
Right.
Because what we've seen with the bathroom like bounty laws, they don't know how to enforce it.
Yeah.
And the hearings, like, we're like, how are you going to enforce it? And they're like, and they don't know. They hadn't. And it's like, I want to believe that they just hadn't thought that far out, but there's also the possibility that they have thought that far out. They're just not ready to like start talking about it yet. And that shit really scares me.
Yeah.
But it's like 2 of my 3 have already been crossed, and I'm still here. So,
yeah.
I don't know. What about you?
It's really hard. I think right now I feel like I'm not leaving anywhere until my mom dies, and only because she's really ill right now. Like she's probably got a year or 2 more, and like I don't know. I feel like it would take a lot for me to like leave my mom. Yeah. And I haven't really thought specifically what that looks like. I mean, I've even went to the point of like my partner moving away and me not going with him. Yeah. You know, so, and to me, I feel like that's you know, that's something I don't want to have to do, but you know, it's something I've thought about, but I haven't really thought too critically about like what's my trans specific line that's gonna cause me to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I think in my mind, I just assumed that I would make my mom go with me. So,
well, there's
like,
we're leaving mom.
There's that. Yeah, there's that, I guess.
But it feels, because when we're here, everything feels so dire and like it is going to happen. This horrible shit is right on top of us. But somewhere blue, like when you guys leave, I feel like it's not going to feel as imminent.
Yeah.
Because that was the vibe that I had the whole weekend, was like, oh, we have a chance.
Yeah.
You know, like we have people. Yeah, there's hope. People are actively fighting for us.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem as bad, but like when you come back here, it's just like that's all you can really think about.
The world's on fire.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And so it really sounded like once you were gonna become a dad, had to deal with the hospitals and that sort of stuff, it really became like, this is not okay.
Yeah, just putting my family at risk, putting an innocent kid at risk, like, and my wife, like, it's not their fault, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's it's just messed up.
And it's not like your fault either.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just a trans person. It's other people's
Just
shit,
trying
but I
to
understand.
exist.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. And kind of, Pacey had kind of alluded to the fact that you're getting out of here. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the fact that you're going to get out of here and what you needed to do to make that happen?
Yeah, I made a GoFundMe. It like took a little while. I was just posting on Facebook for a while and like Instagram, but I was just getting a lot of negative response on there.
Okay, like what?
I was ending up on like the wrong side of that stuff. So a lot of transphobic, like, you should just stay there, like, why are you even doing, like, you're lying, all this stuff. And I'm like, all right. So I ended up going to TikTok and made videos on there, and it took about a week before I made one that actually got some traction, and it blew up. It was crazy. It was like overnight that just so many people from all over the world have donated and have like supported us and given us ideas and like good places to go and not so safe places to go, and it's been really crazy. Like, it was incredible. It was crazy. I did not expect it to happen at all. Like, but yeah, the positive response on there has been mind-blowing.